Hello, everybody. This is Purge bringing you guys a replay coaching. This was purchased by a guy named Faisal. Thanks for signing up. If you guys want to purchase something like this, you can. It's kind of similar to regular coaching, but I charge less money because it's easier on my schedule. I will charge you $50 per hour that I look at your replays. So get as much as you want. Send me an email at purgegamers@gmail.com and we can work something out. This guy purchased 2 hours. So we're going to go over a bunch of his games, and for those of you guys that may or may not be watching on YouTube, thought it might be interesting for you guys as well to learn something from this. So you can either buy replay coaching, or you can just keep watching my videos for free, and you're good. Okay, so first replay that he wanted to look at was a Tinker game. Now the guy is 1.1k MMR, and he's 1.5k international ranked. So there should be a lot of really simple, basic things that we can look at to show you. I don't know if you guys follow me on Twitter, but there was a replay today a Reddit thread today that I talked about on Twitter. It said I really liked it, and the Reddit post is mostly around the fact that the guy that plays, he doesn't play that much. He spends about equal time training and looking at replays to see good players do it, get how they play their heroes. And that's going to make you better a lot faster. He said he went from like 1.5k MMR to like 4k in like less than 6 months or something like that, which is pretty realistic. And that's kind of how Dota works. You have to get better at the game by learning what you're doing wrong and then doing that. If you just kind of play games repeatedly, unless you're really talented at learning and getting better and noticing your mistakes, you're probably not going to get better that much faster. So the best thing to do by far, watch your own replays, similar to what I'm about to do for this guy, but imagine if it was my own replays. You're going to see things that you missed. You're going to understand the hero levels better. You're going to be able to figure out why you're behind, and that's why this kill didn't happen, etc. Things like that. Look at your potential. What could you have done? But the easiest way by far is to watch pro players play. If you want to learn to play hero, go watch a pro player replay. See what he does. Try to figure out why he's doing the things that he does. If you don't understand, you can maybe go a little bit MMR lower or something like that. Look at staples, things that you know for sure, like how many last hits do they have at 10 minutes, and then compare that to how many last hits you have. And I guarantee you have minimum half as many last hits as they do in that role on that hero. Guaranteed. I guarantee you're worse at last hitting. If you just get better at last hitting, if you just start last hitting at the 90, like if a pro player, the best pro player last hits every game at about this level, which we'll say 100%, and somebody that never gets last hits is 0. If you can get to the 90th percentile, which is pretty reasonable for most human beings, minimum 75 percentile if you're like a 1k player, that'll jump you 1,000, 2,000 MMR minimum. Just because you're collecting more resources every game, which means that you have more items to actually win your team fights. So even if you're really bad at mechanics, this guy said he was genuinely bad at mechanics. He's not good at casting spells before his enemy heroes. He doesn't know mechanics interaction. He didn't know you could use Sheep Stick while he's under a Ricky Smoke Cloud. But it doesn't matter because all of the other things that he does are really good. So those are the most important things to focus on when you're trying to get better as a Dota player. Those basic things, practice last hitting, go into a lobby, spend 45 minutes practicing pulling, pull the small camp. Oops, I gotta go into a free camera and I have to press play. Okay, there we go. Practice, can I really not click on the map when I'm paused? Weird. Oh, I'm zoomed in. Why am I so zoomed in? Okay, there we go. That's weird. Practice pulling the small camp and then practice pulling the large camp over to the small camp, connecting a creep wave so that you get 2 camps every minute, that every time that you pull. Once you get good at that, your support level should be much, much faster. It completely changes the whole game. Watch my Underlord guy. There was a game where I did a pull through from 45 seconds to 1 minute, and then I walked over here and I stacked the medium camp as I pulled over to grab rune. So within one minute and a little bit more, I had farmed the experience of 2 camps, and I had stacked the medium camp, and I had gotten rune. So in a minute and a half, I was already level 2.5, and it was only 2 minutes into the game. It's like things like that make a huge difference. If you keep pulling, you get more and more levels. Practice stuff like that. Practice your last hitting. Figure out how to roam and gank better. See how pro players do it. See how they skill build. See how their itemization is. Match that stuff almost perfectly or perfectly until you really understand why they're doing it. That's what I recommend doing. And if you get all that stuff, your MMR is going to be raised by like 4k points, and then you'll be at the 4k to 5k mark. It's pretty much you have a firm understanding of skill builds, item builds, what you should be doing, but then you just come down to efficiency. Maybe you do a pull, but you mess up the pull through, so the creep wave pushes and it messes up your laning stage for your carry, and then the offlaner gets level 3 and then he's hard to zone, and then you kind of just like messed up, and he gets a huge advantage you have to play against. Things like that, little mistakes like that. Once you fix all of those problems, that's about where you get to 5k, in my experience at least. That's how I did it. That's how I got to 5k. And then from there, it's mostly refining my ganking and things like that, having a better hero pool, blah, blah, blah. So Okay, that's not necessarily super relevant. It's actually pretty relevant to this guy. But again, let's talk about this game. We are going to be watching a Tinker game. And again, it's a very low MMR game. First things first. No regen. Huge mistake. Can't do that. You need regen. You can either do a pool tango, you can get a Ironwood branch. I have no idea who he's laning against. He has no idea who he's laning against. And I pray to God, he's probably getting Bounty Rune and then go back to block. But this isn't okay. You have to have at least one tango or two tangos. Two shared tangos from allies. Or you have to get the bot, or you have to bring your own set of tangos. You can do that just fine. It's okay. But you can't do this bottle rush thing. It's absolutely not okay. Any good player is basically going to out-harass you. Now keep in mind this guy says that he plays support 90% of the time. So this is likely going to be a bad example of his laning skills. First mistake. Look at where the camera's positioned. How's he supposed to see the enemy heroes right now? And a second ago, it was even farther bad. Looking at the creep waves, he doesn't know where the creeps are. He can't see enemy heroes. If there was an enemy hero next to the creep wave, he would only be able to see it on the map. There isn't a hero there, but camera positioning is massive, and it's a huge thing that low MMR players never do. They never adjust their camera to the right place. So what you should do is you should put your camera in a position where the threat is likely to come from. Look at everything this guy can see right now. He can see anybody approaching from bottom river. He can kind of see this small patch over here. And he can also see bottom over this way and a little bit down bot river. But the reality is that his camera needs to be placed in a position where he's either going to spot ganks, he's going to have a good firm understanding of where the creeps are, and he's also going to see a lot of movement where his opponents are most likely to come from. The places enemy heroes are most likely to come from is up here as they wrap around, or to cross the river like this. So if I was this guy, his camera is somewhere like this. His camera should be like this. This is how he should do it. He should do it like this, and he should look at the map a lot to check to see if somebody's coming. And he should spend all of his time walking on the high ground, because as soon as he walks into the river, he doesn't have vision of this area over here. There's no point to have vision over here, because it's very, very difficult for Radiant heroes to gank this way. They'd have to tank tower hits. So pretty much anybody coming from this way is impossible early game, especially for anybody below 4K probably. Almost nobody will do that unless they have an illusion rune. So he should be worried about wraparounds here. He should be maybe worried about approaches here, and he should be worried about heroes running up this way. So always adjust your camera to where you're last sitting. This would be more or less perfect camera position. He should always see where his opponent is. He can get firm understanding of his control of his creeps. Extremely important that you adjust your camera. So, because there's 0 heroes in this lane, he should get every last hit. No excuses. If you can't do that, you need to go into a bot game, much like this guy is, pretty much, and practice last hitting when nobody's there. If you can't get every last hit, you messed up. He missed that one. I knew right away. He attacked way too late. If you can't get every last hit, you guys are messing up. If you genuinely want to get better at Dota, and you play either mid or a carry role, and you can't get every last hit when nobody's around, you need to practice. If you don't care that much about Dota, and you're cool just playing it for fun, then whatever. But don't complain. See, this is the problem. And this is something that I do sometimes as well when I make replays or games. I don't know what the term is. Maybe this is like already a philosophical thing, but I'm gonna call it like a stop line. So what happens often when people argue about their game performance, how well they played, they'll look at something that their opponent or their ally did and say, this guy messed this up so bad, they're terrible. We lost the game because this guy didn't disrupt me in this moment. But the reason that he needed to disrupt you was because you were out of position, or likely your opponents were going on you, and you needed it to survive because you didn't have a BKB or something. So what that person is doing by arguing that is that they're putting a stop line right before that moment, and they're cutting everything else off that happened earlier and saying, this guy messed up. And he did probably mess that part up. You may be right. But if he did, there's still the entire rest of the game to talk about when you're trying to reference who really messed this game up. And I do that often when I get frustrated, and it's cool to be frustrated. There's nothing wrong with being frustrated and wanting to vent. That's like a human need to release those emotions. But the hard part, and it's mostly in the moment. I do this all the time when I'm streaming. I'll blame somebody in the moment for not disrupting me. But the reality is, I got out of position because I made a small mistake, and then my ally doesn't disrupt me because they're bad or worse than me or something, and then I criticize them. It's not completely fair because I got out of position, and that's something I'm trying to work on. I'm trying to be a better, more reasonable Dota player. The reason I'm talking about this is because I guarantee that Tinker is going to get less than 30 last hits by 10 minutes. Maybe not guaranteed. There's a chance. But if he gets less than 30 last hits by 10 minutes, it's completely messing up his last hitting. It is completely unreasonable for a Tinker to have 30 last hits at 10 minutes versus a Wraith King. The only way that is reasonable is if he gets ganked by like crazy by smokes, or if this Wraith King plays like godlike, and he shouldn't. If we look at his items, he has a stout shield, 1 tango, and an enchanted mango. These are awful items. If he had like a stout shield with maybe like an orb of venom and could get up close to Tinker and hit him, it would be fine. But Tinker has a blind, so basically anytime the Wraith King goes for a last hit, you can just blind him. And the same goes for him trying to kill you. It just simply shouldn't happen. So Tinker should have more than 30 last hits. If he doesn't, he's messing up. Go into a bot game, go practice last hitting, make sure that you can get like minimum 60. And for how many creeps spawn, by the way, you get 4 creeps spawning every 30 seconds starting at the 0-second mark. And I think there's like 2 or 3 catapults in that time period. I don't remember what the delay is. I think it's like 6 minutes or something. Every 6 minutes a catapult, or every 4 minutes, something like that. I don't remember exactly. So let's just do 4 times 2, because that's how many creeps are spawned every minute, and you're farming for 10 minutes. Arguably, it's usually the staple we look at. How many last hits do you have at 10 minutes? So by 10 minutes, although one creep wave hasn't met yet, technically at 10 minutes the creep wave is spawned, so really it's more. We should subtract 4. So we're going to do 8 times, because that's for every minute, 8 times 10, so that should be 80 creeps, but we're going to subtract 4, because those have just spawned at the 10-minute mark, and they haven't walked to your lane yet. Because right now we're already almost a minute in, there's only been 1 creep wave. Actually, that's not true, this is the second creep wave. First, but one starts at 0, rather than 31 minute. Okay, so it is 80 creeps. It should be 80 creeps. There should be 80 creeps mid, not including catapults, at 10 minutes. That means that if you're playing absolutely perfectly, you have 80 last hits at 10 minutes. Now this happens sometimes in the safe lane, because in the safe lane they do things like getting every single last hit, and they also will shift to the jungle and get pulls, or the supports will stack things and they'll shift over, kill like 10 neutrals here, or maybe they'll kill mud golems, that's like 6 last hits instead of 2, or satyrs, that's 4 last hits. But generally you should have minimum 50 last hits at 10 minutes. If you don't, you're majorly messing up. You should have 50. If you're free farm, you should have about 70 at 10 minutes. Most pros right now will have around 70 last hits at 10 minutes. In some cases of stacking for Svens and stuff, your numbers can be even higher. If you're not doing that, you're messing up. I guarantee that if this guy was exactly the same player as he was, but he could get 70 last hits against 1k players in the mid lane every single game, his MMR would be raised by at least 1,000. At least. Probably more like 1,500, maybe even 2,000 MMR. That's it. All you have to do is go practice last hitting, and your MMR skyrockets. Literally skyrockets. Same thing for supports. Try to zone the offlaner. If you can't do that, pull and pull through repeatedly. Keep doing that until you get level advantage, and then notice when your opponents are out of position and kill them. Support is maybe a bit more game sense than mid is, but if you're playing mid or carry, it's almost entirely about getting last hits. Let's continue now that I've made that point. There's so many things like that. Let's see. Didn't get that last hit. Huge mistake being made. He's playing against a Wraith King who's a melee hero who you're much better against. What he should be doing is constantly last hitting or harassing this Wraith King. He shouldn't be denying him at all. He should be going for the range creep here. Now he's going to have to go for both. I would right click this and then laser this. He's going to miss both. Range creeps are a huge amount of experience. Practice last hitting under tower. If a range creep is getting hit by a tier 1 tower and your damage isn't above like a certain threshold, it's like 70 or something, or like some number with a quelling. There's guides you can look up on that when you last hit under tower. But a range creep is 1 auto attack, 2 tower hits, and then a final auto attack. So two auto attacks from you, 2 tower hits. If creeps hit it, then you shouldn't auto attack at that one time, depending on how much damage they do. But that's the balance you got to work out. You generally shouldn't last hit or miss last hits under tower. Sometimes the circumstances are bad, but the easiest thing that he could have done there, he could have killed the range creep as they approach, take the creeps a little bit, and then last hit the melee creep. Or he could have last hit the melee creep and then lasered the range creep because he did 80 magic or pure damage, which probably would have gotten the last hit. Don't miss your last hits. We got 2 last hits and we're like 3 creep waves deep already. Camera is again terrible. He's not spotting the Wraith King approaching. He did laser him before the last hit, which is pretty good, but the problem is that he's not right clicking. The freest damage you have is a right click, so when you can right click, you're doing free damage to your opponent, and that's a big mistake that a lot of low level players do. So for example, right now, what he should have done is, let me play this again. What he should have done instead is, had his camera in a good position, see the Wraith King coming, he goes for the last hit, he gets the last hit. He instantly lasers the Wraith King to prevent him from getting the last hit, and then he just starts right-clicking the shit out of the Wraith King. What happens? Stands back. Standing. 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 Oh, harassing a creep. That was 3 right-clicks that he could have thrown at the Wraith King already. Three right-clicks where he hits for like 66 physical damage against this guy, and he's under tower, and Wraith King can't dive him, and if Wraith King even casts his spells, he's lower on mana. All of these things lead to you winning the lane. But if you're not going to abuse your lane matchup, then you're never going to win your lane past last hitting. And you want to, against bad players, you want to stomp them in last hitting, and you want to kill them often. So if you're not last hitting, you should be right-clicking your opponent if they're a melee hero. Even if they're a ranged hero, I guarantee that if you just right-click them more, they're going to get nervous, their HP is going to be lower, and then maybe you'll have a possibility to kill them later. So you're messing up two major things. You're not playing your lane right at all, and you're not last hitting properly. You have to do both of these things. That's why it's so hard to be a top tier laning player. Somebody that's really good at that, go watch Sumail replays. There was this game that I watched him play Storm at TI, and I almost made a Weatherman segment about it, and it was insane. The amount of different ways that he harassed his opponent while playing Storm, while getting almost every last hit, was actually insane. It was really impressive. And that's one of the reasons that Sumail is so good at laning. So minimum, just standing, oh god, don't waste your mana like that. Absolutely not worth it. You have 530 mana pool, you casted a level 1 March of the Machines. What's the point? To push a lane? You're already too late, basically. And you put 2 points in laser, which means this isn't even going to be efficient mana. Generally, it's just not worth it to use a level 1 skill, especially for something like this lane push. Now that's less mana to use laser, basically. And you've almost got your bottle, so you should have your bottle on the way, so it's not that big of a deal. But in reality, you could have gotten the bottle earlier by getting like 5 more last hits minimum. And now you're wasting your mana for March of the Machines that you could use later to possibly get a kill against a hero like Wraith King. And now you're just auto-attacking. You shouldn't miss any last hits ever. You're running to the bot rune, but who gives a shit? Like, it's a bounty rune. You could have done that a little bit earlier. And now you're probably missing experience because of the timing you did that. You pushed the lane too late. And look, oh, the creep's already fighting. If you get here before when this creep is... If this creep dies when you're not there, you lose experience and you lose gold. So you didn't plan ahead there at all. If you really did want to spam that with March of the Machines, you should have casted that like 20 seconds earlier. That way the wave pushes. And then you can go take the top rune or you can go take the bottom rune. And then while your wave pushes in, because you just push theirs, the creeps will die under the tower, which means these are less likely to die until they get to you. So you mess that up as well. Let's see if you're getting experience range. I very much doubt it. Yep, 0 experience for that creep. You weren't able to deny him from getting that last. Also, his creep wave is now in a really awful position for you because now it's high ground and you're low ground. That's because you didn't push it all the way into his tower. You only did like the tiniest little late push ever. So now your chances of last hitting are even worse. And again, your last hits are just equal to... Okay, he's terrible. He's real bad. But your last hits should be way higher this game. It's 2 minutes 34 seconds into a game. He throws a nuke. Your laser's way too early. You should save that until he goes on you, in my opinion, or use it whenever he's about to get a last hit. By doing that, you can basically play this game when you're playing Tinker. Every time he comes up to the creep wave, you attack him like 3 times. If he throws a stun you, whatever, you cast a laser and you walk away, and then you heal up with your bottle. If he comes up to try to get a last hit, though, you can either deny it, you can laser him in the face, and you can do those things while right-clicking him 3 times. So every time he tries to get a last hit, you should be dealing like 150, 200 physical damage to him, including your nuke. 200 damage total. That's a lot of damage. So every time that he comes up to get a last hit, he loses a tango. If you do this enough times, he runs out of tangos and he has to leave the lane, or he has to buy a bottle, or he has to buy a salve. He actually bought a Quelling Blade afterwards. This guy has like no regen at all, but you haven't right-clicked the guy once. You've literally just casted a laser to stop him from getting one last hit. Instead, you could be casting laser and right-clicking him 3 times, taking out 1/3 of his HP, and getting massive lane advantage. Then he leaves the lane, and then you're back to free farm, which means you should be missing less last hits. And then he feels like he can't do anything, so he has to go around the map and gank. It'll probably work because the players in this game are bad and they'll make that mistake. But look at this. You're just lasering him. You can right-click, 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 right-click. 6 last hits, you could have gotten him right there that you just didn't because you're standing around waiting to get last hits. Can't do that shit, man. Come on. Come on. Push the lane, which is fine. You got brown boots coming, whatever, that's cool. I would maybe consider getting... Deny the range creep. Please deny the range creep. Oh, God, you gotta deny those range creeps, man. You can deny a lot of experience by doing that. Laser him and deny it. That's how you should be doing it. Keep him as low on last hits as possible. The only reason this guy's low on last hits is because he auto-attacks. You mostly try to last hit, and he's still at your MMR. That's because he's probably better at a lot of other things that you're not good at, but... Also, I maybe would have stuck around to get that full experience from that creep wave. You also should have nuked that earlier, started the march earlier. That way, you would get more experience from that wave. You probably got some last hits, but it wasn't ultimately amazing. I would go Soul Ring next, maybe. You could go BOTs first. This is kind of dangerous. This is actually super dangerous. Okay, you super misplayed that. Let me explain why that was stupid. Alright, you can't see shit. You're crossing the creep wave, you're on cooldown for all of your skills. If he was standing right here, he would slap you, stun you, slap you, slap you, slap you, and then you would be at like, I don't know, 60% health. If there happened to be a support in the area rotating, you just die 100%. You You can't walk up a cliff like that. Like, you could even cast March of the Machines right here. You don't have to walk up to this side of the area. And as soon as he stunned you, you reacted really poorly. Instead, you casted that, and then you started running north to the rune. I don't know why you did that. You already took that rune. Maybe because he has to run through the march then or something. But you also could have right-clicked him like 3 times here as well. You're just not right-clicking enough. You should always be right-clicking unless you're afraid of aggroing creeps and dying due to aggroed creeps. Just constantly right-clicking for free damage. It's really, really important. So you check bot rune, it's not there. You could have bottle crowed. Having a ward mid would be kind of helpful. Don't miss any last hits. How many last hits you got? You have 26. You're actually doing quite okay compared to most people at your MMR. So I think you are going to easily break the 30 mark, obviously. But it's kind of been done based on March of the Machines, which isn't completely fair. Maybe this is one reason why you play Tinker. But your last hitting it's better than average for 1k, but that's also a bad sign. If your MMR, if your last hitting is better than average at this MMR, that means you're making up for it in other ways, either playing heroes that are easy to farm with. For example, jungle heroes are really popular at low MMR because you can't miss last hits when you're spinning an axe on neutral. Same with Legion Commander. You can't not get that gold. But at higher MMRs, it's in most cases just far better to actually be laning because you can get way more out of lane creeps than you can from jungle creeps. You're also late again to push the wave, so you check rune and it's already gone. You're losing advantage here. It's a very common mid misconception and a mid mistake. Looks like you're a little scared here too. You didn't get rearm 6, which is fine. I maybe would grab Heat-Seeking Missile though, just because the bonus damage is pretty huge. It's 80 extra damage. Laser gives you 80. Heat-Seeking Missile will reduce to around 100 or something, a little bit lower than that, like 95. It would do more damage, costs more mana though, and it hits 2 targets. So hypothetically, having an earlier Heat-Seeking Missile could be good, but I am happy that you're getting March early. It's definitely a good thing to do. What you actually could have been doing a lot is, for example, push waves out. In these minutes that aren't rune timers, what you can do is push the lane out with March and the Machines. Ahead of time, go to stack a large camp with a right click, and then come back later with a soul ring around this timing, and then you can just AFK jungle this area for a bit, and by doing that, it gives you a lot of acceleration, and does it safely when they won't gank you. So it doesn't really matter at your MMR because nobody's going to gank you, but considering how decent you are at last hitting for your MMR bracket, you should be doing way better, and you really are missing a lot of last hits under tower. Most of your last hits are coming from easy last hits in lane, or you casting March of the Machine. But you're not really laning correctly. You're prioritizing the wrong things. You should be focused on you getting creeps, and then when possible, always denying things like range creeps. Like, look how much effort you're putting into this. You could be right-clicking this guy and lasering him and stuff, but instead you're sitting over here right-clicking a neutral creep, and he gets it in the end. Like, look how much effort you put into that. That could have been all time spent right-clicking this guy that still hasn't bought any new regen. Passes Enchanted Mango. So 35 last hits is pretty good, and I think you're gonna make my statement completely incorrect, but I mean, honestly, you are better at last hitting than the average 1k player. That's very clear. But it is still a mid matchup, and it's a matchup where the other guy is a melee hero that's completely useless. Again, you pushed late, but you're probably saying, but I didn't have mana. Well, you didn't have mana because your lane control at pushing the lane at the right time was wrong, so you're constantly missing runes. And your mana is also low because you never bought a soul ring, and you never bought a raindrop, you never bought anything to keep your mana up. But if you keep your mana up by these smart principles, pushing lane, going to grab runes, your mana pool is higher, you can use that mana to harass your opponent more, he will get less hits, he will die in lane, and you'll farm faster anyways. So all of these things really add up to be a huge deal. Again, you're late, you lose the last hit, and you lose experience. I would have lasered that. You were going to miss it otherwise, and you don't want to miss range creeps because it's like 45 gold. If you had 3-4 more last hits, you would definitely have Boots of Travel right now. But again, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of going Boots of Travel before you get Soul Ring, just because it really limits your ability to accelerate. So once you get Rearm and a Soul Ring, you should be able to just permanently jungle, but instead you're sitting over here waiting to get your Boots of Travel. So what? Like, what's the point? You getting Boots of Travel doesn't even fit in your build, and that's the next issue. You know this is the build. You get March to farm. You get Boots of Travel to move around the map ganking. But how are you supposed to gank with 4 levels of March of the Machine? What March of the Machine does is it jungles for you. You can use it to push and stuff like that, but it's much better for just jungling. So Soul Ring helps you jungle. Boots of Travel helps you gank. Your build is mostly jungling. Why would you buy the first item that lets you gank? If you go Laser Missile first, definitely get Boots of Travel right away. That makes perfect sense. Go TP in somewhere and blow somebody up. But your build is farming. You should go Soul Ring ASAP as soon as you get 800 gold. I would get a Soul Ring, a TP Scroll, and maybe a Raindrop if you're worried about getting ganked. Especially against Wraith King, it's justified. because his nuke does up to 200 magic damage. So once he gets like 2 skill points, maybe 3 skill points in Wraith Fire Blast, it's worth it for you to have a range op, I think. Because it'll protect you against a lot of damage. You'd constantly be winning a trade with this guy. And again, you still haven't harassed him. You really need to. So your build is inefficient completely. And it's inefficient because you're slow at it. And it's inefficient because you haven't pressured your opponent at all. You don't have any kills. You haven't ganked any lanes. You're basically just going to your lane, slowly collecting farm, and hoping that your opponents do it slower than you. You're not exerting lane pressure. You're basically just not even playing Dota. You're going to a lane. You're leveling up your skills. You're kind of using your skills. But you're not doing anything to take advantage over your opponent, which is a huge mistake. So now you're TPing back to base, probably just to get mana, which is okay, but it's very slow. I also would have TP'd to the range creep here. You could have maybe lasted the melee creep. Instead, what happens is you TP to the tower. You're kind of rearming a little early here. This is very... You missed like 3 last hits here. It's not time for you to be greedy about last hits yet. The game doesn't just begin like at this point and you start doing this like AFK farm thing. You're basically using like a cheap version of last hitting. You're coming to lanes, you're casting March a couple times, and then you're justifying your presence. And what you're also doing is you're completely killing your team's ability to farm. By you TPing around the map like this, yes, you're collecting items, but you're also really fucking your team over. That was like 3 creeps that hypothetically, if the Bloodseeker was here a little earlier, he could have last hit. He could have gotten that experience. Instead, you're going to move around the map likely and take experience and gold from all of your allies, limiting their ability to farm. What you should have done instead is push out the creep wave, go to the jungle, stack a camp, then farm the jungles, and then go back to your wave and farm the wave again, and then go back to the jungle and farm the jungle again, and then go back to the wave and farm the jungle again. That way if people aren't using these camps, then it's fine. Or what you can do is TP aggressively, go to the bot lane, do that on their jungles. Farm these 2 camps together using March the Machines. Pull them together, cast March, rearm, do it again. And if somebody comes to lane to gank your allies, you're right there and you cast Laser and they die. Really easy stuff. And then, oh, the mid's pushing in, TP mid, defend that now. You don't want to, like, this is a problem for a lot of players. They don't understand this, like when they play Nature's Prophet or they play Tinker. The map has limited resources and you're taking it from your allies a little bit. And you're missing a lot of the last hits as well. Like you came to the lane, you casted March twice, and 2 of those creeps died to creeps. To your creeps, so you didn't get last hits for it. That's just not worth it. And yet it's kind of making it hard for this Wraith King to farm or whatever, but is that truly worth it? It's probably going to win you this game, but it's going to win you this game because your opponents are bad, not because your play is smart. And that's the big difference that you need to try to hit correctly. 100% you need a Soul Ring right now. I bet you don't buy it. You don't. But you need to buy it. And here again, look, Pudge could be getting these last hits. This guy's level 7. He'd love to have a little bit more items. Instead of what you do is you split the experience with him. What does this accomplish? Why did you go top right now? You could have gone into the jungle and farmed last hits or something. But instead you're standing in your lane. This doesn't accomplish anything really. And again, you're just making an opportunity for your opponents to gank you, and you're not using smart movement. And this is just a grouping thing that is very, very common for new players. They go to a lane and think like, oh, it's time to go battle and fight. But it's really not. You could have so many more last hits than 55 right now with 12 minutes. You could have like probably 100 or something easily with jungling. I'm wondering if I should pause this right now and go and play a Tinker custom game against bots and see how many last hits I can get at 10 minutes. I think I'm going to, because that's I mean, the guy basically played like worse than a bot by far. Let me try this. Alright, I did an awful job, and I have 77 last hits at 10 minutes, and the only kill is for my Viper. I was against a Pudge, so it was like same matchup as you. I stack camps, look at my level compared to my opponents. I'm at level 9 compared to all the bots being at 6 to 7, which is pretty likely for 1 camp MMR players. Other mistakes I made, I messed up a stack on a medium camp once and a large camp towards the end there. So messed up my stacks as well, trying to be greedy, so I could have had an extra large camp. But you see how much more farm I have already? Just like fast Soul Ring, I've got Boots of Travel at 10 minutes, just got this completed, and 500 gold on top of that. Already ahead of things, and this is just honestly terrible. I should have like at least 10 to 15 more last hits that I just missed, either to me miss last hitting, or because March messed it up as I was trying to push. And that was my first take. Like, I could practice this 3 times in a row, and I guarantee that the next time I did this, that I would have an extra stack minimum on the large camp, and I would be able to get like 5-10 more range or lane creeps at least, massively increasing my value. If you do this perfectly, you're giving yourself such a better chance to win the game. Because at this point in the game, I already have Boots of Travel. I already have the same skill build as you, and I can move around the map doing things that I want to, and getting kills, and blah, blah, blah. So it's really, really important that you maximize your last hitting. Just go practice this like I just did. It took me 10 minutes, and I learned a lot about things that I was doing wrong. Like, for example, I kept trying to push the waves with March on the Machine so I could go back and stack, but I wasn't rearming to do it, so it cost me way too much time because the next wave would come by the time I killed the first one, then I'd have to go back, kill the wave again. Just little things like that you'd learn to do that are going to accelerate your laning stage, get you more farm, give you time to grab runes, give you time to stack camps, which will translate to later farm, which will translate to you just owning the whole game. So you got to practice that stuff. It's a really big deal. Practice the heroes you like, practice their efficiency in the early laning stage, and transition that into later parts of the game. Okay, back into the replay. So, if we compare your farm levels to what I was at, keep in mind you have 1 kill here, and I had 77 last hits at 10 minutes and like 20 seconds or something like that, and I had a soul ring. So basically, you are about 1 minute and 50 seconds, actually more than that. You're basically about 2 minutes ahead of me, where I was, and you have the same farm as me. And that's with your kill, by the way. You have a kill in here. I don't remember who you killed. I must have missed the kill in a different lane. But you have a kill, and I didn't have a kill, and I was 2 minutes ahead of you, and I played bad, like shit. I got most of the last hits, but I missed a lot when I was using March on the Machines to push waves out. So stuff like that is really, really huge, actually. And you didn't do any jungling either. And you also went to the top lane to push lane and split farm with your allies, which hurt them as well. If you watch the last hits of your opponents, I'm sure that they're going to be a little bit lower for your team than they would be otherwise. You're finally now buying the soul ring, which is going to solve a lot of your mana problems, of course. It's like you're... Oh, you did TP this. Oh, I'm sorry, I need to rewatch this. Let's see how you did this. You're moving your camera so much, I'm very confused. Okay, show what's happening top. You're checking top, you want to TP, so you're TPing. You tried to TP somewhere by creeps you got on the spear, which is fine. Alright, and you TP and you're right here. You got hexed by the Shadow Shaman. And you just kind of died. So if... I mean, that was kind of a bad fight either way, but... They have really good team fight AoEs. Pretty sloppy fight. But yeah, you're the position you TP'd in, I don't think you really intended to go there, exactly. Either way, now you're behind. You gave all of your net worth, at least you gave gold based on how much farm you have to your opponents, so you gave them 400 gold minimum in that AoE. Pushing out lanes again. Like, you're basically being a little scared. Like, there's a point in the game to be scared, and this is something that a lot of low MMR players do, is that they don't understand what their limits are, and that's why they're bad. It's like game sense, basically. As soon as you got Boots of Travel, you started playing like you're terrified of the game. As soon as it started. That's what you did this game, and that's not really the right way to play Tinker. You should get scared of the game when they have Blink Daggers or Invis heroes or heroes that can jump on you. And look at the heroes. They do actually have a Blink Dagger and Axe. That's a little scary. But you got your Boots of Travel around 10 minutes, and then you started playing terrified. You just basically started going to lanes, casting March twice, never trying to last stay with your hero, and you just ditched. Go to the lane, push the lane, go heal, do it again somewhere else. You're not utilizing the jungle, though. You're not trying to guarantee you get more last hits. Like, me alone, when I did my thing, I was pretty lazy about the last hitting with the March as well, kind of similar to how you were. But I still tried. I wasn't good at it, but I still tried. And guaranteeing those last hits, like, changes everything. Because you should be getting an extra, like, minimum 1 extra creep per creep wave, which is an extra 50 gold. And if that's every 2 minutes, that's a total of 100 GPM more than you would have if you just cast March and walk away. So that stuff's huge. Make sure you get as many last hits as possible, and you got to get your items up as fast as possible, because what you should be worried about right now is getting behind and getting initiated on by this axe and heroes like that. Also, you should have been spamming bottle as soon as you got back to fountain, so you took a little bit longer than you should have to get out. You also didn't recast... Did you not rearm? I think you soul ringed when you TP'd in or something like that. I'm not quite sure. But this is not a very efficient way to get last hits. You're basically TPing home, regenning, coming back to mid lane, killing 4 creeps, and then going back mid again. That's super inefficient. There's much better ways to do this. You could, like, nuke the creep wave, go to the jungle, farm 2 camps in the same time period. Similar thing here. Rearm, get out, or stop standing around. You're wasting time. When you play Tinker, as soon as you get Boots of Travel, you should be constantly doing something. Either walking to an important lane to be in, or farming camps, or walking to the next place to farm. You didn't even check to see if this camp was here, and it just wasn't, and you wasted 20 seconds, you know? Like, that's gonna happen sometimes, but you could have walked like an inch farther and spotted to see that it was there. And now your last hits are way behind. You only have 67 now, At the 15-minute mark, you had about 50 around 10 minutes. Or 12 minutes, you had 57. You've gotten 10 last hits in the last 3 whole minutes, and you've gotten 1 assist and 1 death, I think, which is absolutely not worth it. Your last hits should be more in the probably 120 minimum last hits here. Maybe upwards towards 150 if you're like a really good Tinker player. You got to spend more time in the jungle though. That's really what you're not utilizing. So basically the fastest way to farm is to nuke the creep wave, go to the jungle in that 20 seconds until the next creep wave gets here, farm the jungle, then TP home, then TP to the mid lane back where the creep wave is. You should be able to farm 1 wave and a jungle camp before the next wave gets there. If you do that rapidly, then you're collecting 1 wave and a jungle camp every time a creep wave comes, rather than a typical hero like what you're doing, which is farming just 1 creep wave. So those people are getting more levels, more experience, all that good stuff. And if we check hero levels, see how they're doing. This Wraith King, who doesn't even have a Midas, has actually matched you in experience somehow, which is really not good, considering how much more rapidly you can farm. He's gotten a lot of kills, that's probably why, but yeah, you're very behind. It's all about efficiency, it's about exerting lane pressure, it's about transitioning that into your items faster, it's about using your items in an efficient way to transition your skills to a point where you get out of control. And for Tinker, the point is, fast March of the Machines, generally, that's at least the old school way to play him. Let Soul Ring and Rearm transition you into heavily jungling to get levels, fast creeps, into Boots of Travel, into Blink Dagger, and then you start participating in team fights. Sometimes you will show up to fights earlier than that, but generally you don't. The way Bone7 was playing Tinker with Kaipi in the WCA qualifiers was more laser missile heavy, but he did eventually go back to March. But even still, he spent a lot of time farming in the early game, so that's how you have to play Tinker. From here on out, I'll just slightly look at some of your play stuff, but basically you're not really going to efficient areas. Like right here, you literally could have walked in the jungle, farmed these 2 camps. Instead, you're now spreading experience and last hits with this guy. He could just last hit this fine. He's fine for last hitting. But you're now walking into the lane to kill the creeps. You're not even imagining that jungles exist, essentially. Where is he? Oh, he canceled his spell. That was very bizarre. That was very bizarre. You didn't. I wouldn't say you ditched him either, but I mean, he's clearly difficult to kill, but you're also rearming way too late too. Casting March there was an absolute mistake. So literally, now you actually really screwed yourself because you have to wait 10 seconds to TP home because you didn't actually rearm. You shouldn't be using March like that though. The only time you should use March is if your opponents are about to group into you, like run into a general area of yours and you want them to take all that damage. So you kind of misplayed that heavily. Now you can finally rearm, and now you can double Soul Ring again. And now it's okay to March. You didn't watch the creep running away. So you've just been very inefficient with your farming. You still haven't quite matched how much farm I had at 12 minutes. And that's part of the problem. I do this some games too when I play mid. I get too active. I think that I just need to fight with everybody. You actually missed all of those 4 last hits. That's unacceptable. if you really think you're gonna mess, yeah, lasering like that is a really good idea sometimes. But you're still not at the same last hits that I had at 12 minutes. And I played really badly. This is so dangerous. You should have seen Shadow Shaman over here. You deserve to die now. You might actually live. Ooh, that was really close. But you misplayed that. But that's more of a misplay. I want to see how you play when you get Blink Dagger, because that's really the biggest tip that you can give for Tinker players, is understanding how that works. You do have the gold now. Oh, that was really dangerous. I don't know if you knew that was lifesteal or not, but... Whoa. Now you're trying to TP and you realize you can't. That's pretty funny. Alright, so first off, you didn't look around the map at all. You just TP'd bottom. You could have looked mid to see, oh, hey, there's creep waves here. You could have looked top and been like, hey, is there anything dangerous top? Stop going to where your allies are. Let your allies farm those locations. Go somewhere else that's more dangerous. Blink into trees, farm those camps. You're finally now 19 minutes in the game starting a jungle, but when you do this, make sure you attack the creep first. So you definitely lost some damage there because of it. So this was inefficient. You had to cast... Use Soul Ring a little bit early. You also waste your Soul Ring. Things like that make a huge impact. Like, you could have farmed probably 3 or 4 camps in this time period that you just did. It was super inefficient what you just did. And you just now passed my last hitting mark at the at my 10 seconds mark. And again, I farmed awful. I probably farmed equivalent to like a 4K Tinker when I just played Tinker a moment ago. So your farm rate is far behind. Very, very far behind. The only reason you have more items is because of time ticking over and you got a kill and assist. That's why you have more items than I had at 10 minutes, 10 seconds. But if I played the lane exactly how I did, and I killed my opponent mid, which I easily could have done because it was a shitty bot, If that was a 1k player, if I was playing against your Wraith King, I easily could have killed him as well with the Tinker, even by going like 2-0-4. Just from right clicks and laser, I could have beaten him, I think. Or at least forced him out of lane more. Gotten basically Blink Dagger, Boots of Travel, soaring by about 10 minutes. I think is maybe not 10, but like 14 easily. Blink Dagger, Boots of Travel. And at that point, you just take control of the whole game. Look at the heroes. The only ones that can disable you are these three. So as long as you stay out of range, you can just spam missiles on them or spam laser or something. I probably wouldn't have gone 4-0-4 if I was playing realistically. I would have gone like maybe 2 laser, 3 laser, and then started maxing out rockets, because then you can rocket abuse low-level players. But you could just do a mix of TPing a lane, spamming 2 or 3 rockets on people while pushing lanes, go back to heal or rinse repeat while farming jungles, and then you kind of just take control of the whole game. So that's how you should be playing, but you're not being efficient with the farming you're doing, and your laning was already really behind. So the only reason I'm really stressing this and talking about like how important it is because it's actually very easy to do. It's just not everybody's ready to do it from the moment they start playing Dota, and there's nothing weird about that. It's okay to be new to Dota and to not truly understand how to last hit well. But the reality is it doesn't take a lot of practice to learn how to last hit well. You just have to go into a lobby and practice last hitting and really understand the intricacies between creeps and when they kill creeps, and how much damage they do, and when's the perfect time to last hit in certain circumstances. Also, in moments like these, if you rearm, always blink into trees before you TP, because if somebody's watching you, then they're going to be able to see you faster. Again, spam bottle when you're in Fountain. You're not getting enough regen out of your hero. You would have like 200, 300 more mana right now if you had been spamming bottle when you're in the Fountain. So this is basically the template of all games where you're playing a core. Actually, it's actually all heroes. A template for playing all heroes in the game of Dota. The reason that pro players are pro players is because they farm way more efficiently than you, and they're better. They have extremely good game sense, and they have perfect or very, very good decision making, and they outsmart their opponents. That's why they're the top players, and they're very rapid. They're very, very rapid at getting better at the game because they learn to see what their mistakes are, what they did poorly. So I can easily watch this replay and say you only have 88 last hits at 21 minutes. That's completely unacceptable for a mid tinker when you got 0 pressure. You didn't get ganked once. Your opponent used stuns on you twice in the whole laning stage. You had no regen and it still worked because your players are bad. You should definitely have at least 200 CS right now on Tinker. You should have a Dag on 1, and you should be able to just jump into a lane and blow up the Shadow Shaman repeatedly, because he probably doesn't have very much HP. He actually does have quite a bit, but if you did like 2 rockets and then blinked forward, you could do a laser Dagon and kill this guy, and he would just be dead. There's a lot of heroes actually like that. Timbersaw has like almost no HP. He went Blade Mail to deal with you, I guess, but you can deal with that. So yeah, your farm's really behind. Or you could go Blink Dagger into Bloodstone, just that way you have tons more mana, and you can just stay alive longer. That's probably a good solution against stuff like Blade Mail. There's Blade Mail heroes, yeah, definitely go for that. Especially with like Wraith King, he can do similar things. Against Blade Mail heroes, I would just go Bloodstone. More raw HP, more regen, you can go in and out more, spam more spells. So yeah, your farm's really slow, and you gotta work on that. Practice your last hitting. And like I said, it's so easy. Go into a bot game, practice last hitting, see how many last hits you get at 10 minutes. Do the same thing again. Do things better this time. Plan things better. Oh, I didn't kill this creep wave in time, therefore I didn't get to the rune fast, which limited my ability to have mana later to kill that guy. That was bad. But then you have to practice it solo, then practice it against bots. Basically, practice it solo until you're perfect at last hitting, or very good at last hitting, much better than you were before. Then practice what you just did against bots, and then practice that until you can last hit equivalent as you could against by yourself. And then do it in a real game and practice it until you can do it against real players. And you're going to have some inconsistency. Sometimes you'll lane against somebody that you don't know how to beat, or you lane badly against somewhere he's better than you or whatever. But that's all you got to do to get better at Dota. I'm going to link that Reddit thread down below. Read that shit. Take that shit to heart. Get better at last hitting. It'll completely change your whole game. So even if you're still bad at jungling or bad at TPing at the right places, or you still steal farm from your core sometimes accidentally or on purpose, at the very least you're going to start the game with like 30 more last hits than your opponents will by far, and then you'll have a huge advantage. Minimum you're going to gain like 300 MMR from that, because you're going to have a couple easy games where you have like Blink Dagger at an insane time. Okay, let's move on. I know you play mostly support, so we can go talk about supports for a long time now. That was a Tinker game. Let me get the other one ready. Alright, loading up your Oracle game now. So as you playing support, let's take a look to see what you do. Alright, starting the game. Buying items. 2 wards, good. Gave 1 to the other support. Probably should be the offlaner. 2 Ironwood Branch, Clarity. Should have like a self tango here. Oh god, please buy regen. Please buy regen. You skilled too early. Don't grab your skill point this early. You want to wait until a later stage in the game. Alright, we're a whole like 20 seconds in the game. You still haven't bought any. Still haven't finished buying your items. Do this faster. The faster you get on the map, the better. So it gives you a higher chance of putting an observer ward down. You could be like over here already. You could almost like you could walk all the way over here, place a ward, and get to your lane before the rune even spawns, if you were faster. So try to be a little bit more rapid in buying your items. It makes a big impact in the early game. Alright, you bought a tango, and that's it. Alright, you are too low on items. I think 2 ironwood branches for a support right now is maybe a little bit too expensive. It can work. Arguably, you should get maybe a windlace here, or you can buy a salve. If we look at their heroes, it looks like it's going to be probably a dual offlane because they don't really have a typical offlaner, but if they do have an offlaner, it's probably like, I don't know, Pudge or some shit. I'm not sure. But if they're a dual offlane, what you should look at is how much regen you have, because lanes are very often won based on who has more regen. So if you're dual laning and it looks like you're doing some, maybe you're aggro trialing, I really don't know. Kind of looks like you're doing an aggro try. If you're doing an aggro try, then 1 set of regen is okay. But this guy didn't buy any regen because he's bad, and this guy has 2 sets. So you guys are okay. But you always want to have more regen than your opponents. If you have more regen than your opponents, you're fine. And look at the people you're playing against. There's actually only 2 fucking sets of tangos on the entire enemy team. This is one here, and this line who pulled 2 tangos to Pudge. Like your whole team, the whole enemy team just didn't buy regen. Which means you should be able to go to your lane and just right click the crap out of people until they have to leave. And by doing that, they get less experience. There's no way that your opponent should win the laning stage. It's like not even a question. It looks like you might be going top. If you aggro tri lane, this would make a whole lot more sense. So there are some people in your lane that you're going to have to deal with, but let's see how you deal with it. First of all, you haven't placed your ward yet, which is bad. Because now you're going to get over here to place your ward, and they're going to see you placing it. Which gives them a chance to de-ward it, and you're not going to be able to put it in the place you really want it to be. Against a line, you should be trading a lot of hits. Usually. This is good so far. I'm happy with this. He placed the ward down. I think you could have traded with him more. You could look at his hero basically and see, oh, he's only got 2 tangos. Maybe I should right-click him more. You should also be eating a tango. As soon as you're missing 115 HP, pop your tango. Because now, if you get engaged on, you could just die. You'd just be dead. What's the purpose of casting this spell? You use 110 mana, you did 90 magic damage. What's the point? Still could be regenning. Alright, you're completely misplaying your lane. You've already completely messed up your lane. You haven't done anything in a minute. It's been 1 minute into this whole game, and all you've done is right-click the line like 4 times, and you've casted Fortune's End on the enemy carry once. What your support should be doing is, minimum, get to the lane, put the ward down ahead of time. As soon as you're missing 100 HP, you eat a tango. As soon as you're missing some of your HP, you eat a tango, and continue right-clicking with the line. You could look at the line and say, hey, he's got less tangos than me. That means I have more regen. So that means as you guys fight each other repeatedly and continue right-clicking, you're going to drain him of regen faster than he will of you. So the idea is this. If you're right-clicking your opponent, and your opponent is right-clicking you, and you have equivalent armor, which you're pretty close to, you've got 2, he's got 3 with his Ring of Protection, and you have equivalent damage, you have 50 on average, he has 50 on average. That means that if you, with everything being equal, he should lose HP regen at the same rate that you do. Now, he does have a stun, so he should trade slightly better than you, but not by a whole lot. So that means that if you just constantly right-click this guy, you're probably going to trade maybe 3 tangos to his 2, which means that he'll run out of regen before you. If you also came in the lane with a salve, then you have way more regen than him. And instantly he's going to be out of regen, which means that you're going to be able to keep him lower than max HP, which means that if you do have a fight later, there's a much higher chance of you killing him before he kills you. Playing the regen game is by far the easiest way to win at 1k MMR. Look at this game. There are no regen items on these idiots. This jungling lifestealer doesn't have a tango. This safe lane PA doesn't have a tango. You know what these bastards should be doing? This guy should have gotten Ignite level 1, used the freaking clarity in his inventory that he should have, and just casted Ignite on this guy like 4 times until he's out of regen. And every time he comes up for a last hit, they slap him with 2 melee heroes. And this all of a sudden this guy has to leave his lane and just simply can't last hit because he didn't buy any fucking regen. Like there's no way he should have anything out of this lane. Or the ogre could roam through the jungle and say, hey, here's a lifestealer with no regen. I'm going to cast Ignite on him until he loses all of his mana or something, you know? Like that's what should be happening. You shouldn't let people get away with this stuff. You need to exploit their weaknesses, exploit their mistakes. If you're playing 1k MMR and you're not looking at your opponent's items and you're not exploiting their mistakes, you're completely messing up. And that's even completely separate from all of the laning things that you're not doing well. You're a minute in, you're late with ward, you were late to the lane, you didn't help get the bounty rune. You're misusing your spells and your mana. Again, mana turns into harass, essentially. The times that you want to use this skill, is if their creep wave's about to die and your creep wave's about to push. Then it would be good because it disables your opponents, which means the creeps might be able to walk up and attack them a few times. That's free trading. So if you trade in a lane like this, look at Nyx Assassin. He just right-clicked the line, but look how much HP he just lost right here. This is all from creeps. He doesn't have a stout shield. So him right-clicking enemy heroes in the creep wave is really bad because now Lion's trading efficiently in this 1v1. Nyx Assassin completely messing up here. And he also right-clicked the Lion before he casted a spell, which means it already aggroed the creeps. He could have waited. He could have casted the spell, then right-clicked, and at least the creeps would have attacked him like 1 to 4 less times for all of the creeps. Bad trading right here. Bad trading here, and you did bad trading. We're a minute in, you haven't pulled yet. So what you could have done minimum, gotten the lane down, come over here, right-clicked against the line a lot. I would have hit him a lot more, though, and I would have tried to force a mistake. Keep an eye on when he's going to cast a spell. Think about it. When is he going to cast a spell? Is he going to cast it when I'm about to die? Well, what you do is you start right-clicking him. As soon as he hits you once, you eat a tango. You right-click, you eat a tango, you keep right-clicking, you keep right-clicking. Force this guy to tango up to try to match you. And if you use his stun and you get a little low, like 30%, then you can back off or something and pop your salve. And then you come back again and you trade with him more and more and more. And eventually, when he's low enough, you start channeling your Fortune's End and your Nyx rotates over, your Fortune Ends commits, you right-click him like 2 more times, Nyx gets the easiest stun of his life, and Lion dies, because he only has 1 set of regen. And maybe Troll Warlord shows up during that and throws axes or something, but this guy's an idiot and he got Berserker's Rage level 1. Well, actually, it's not a bad thing necessarily. If I was in a lane like this, I'd probably get Whirling Axes level 1, then Berserker's Rage. No, 6 bonus armor, that's really good. Okay, he's probably in the right, but it means that he's bad at trading level 1. So you should be able to exploit the line here and give your laning partner a really easy lane. And if this line doesn't trade like that, then what you do is you go and stack this pull here. And normally I don't like stacking, but if it's a dual lane, it's difficult. It's very easy for them to contest. You stack this so that there's 2 waves. And then when the next wave comes through, which is going to be this wave here at the 120 mark, you pull it in. And then these 2 sets of creeps waves kills your whole wave, which means this entire creep wave they don't get experience for. And then you get experience of all the creeps under your tower. And maybe you stand here and last hit whatever creeps do die of the neutrals. You get an experience advantage. You're level 2. Your Nyx Assassin's level 2. These guys are still like level 1, maybe level 2. And you do that enough times till you have a level advantage while you're harassing these guys, and then you kill them with a level advantage, or you abuse your level advantage to try to kill them. Because if you have 1 point of Fortune's End and 2 in Purifying Flames, you do an insane amount of damage. You do 198 there. I'm sorry, let's heal. 180 damage here, and you do 90 here. That's 270 magic damage by the time you're level 3, and you're going to throw a second Purifying Flame. So you have like 500 magic damage by level 3. This line's only level 2, he's got 80 magic damage here, and he has a 2.5 second hex. If this guy's level 2, he's got 75 damage from Whirling Axes and like 75 from melee. So together they do a total nuke damage of 250. You alone do like 550. And if Nyx Assassin is minimum 2, he's got an 80 damage stun. Like you can kill either of these 2 heroes pretty much, except for based on mischance. But you're not exploiting any of this. You've completely messed up your lane already, and it's only 1 minute in. You didn't trade efficiently. You didn't stack your pull. You're zoning the Troll Warlord, I guess, because he's stupid, but you did also waste your Fortune's End mana. I can figure that all out from 1 minute into the game. Everything that you should have been doing this lane, and you should know that, because if you're playing support, one of your big goals is to zone enemy heroes. So not having a salve right now is very costly. And you probably want to shift over and try to help out, and you're doing an okay job trying to zone this guy, but your tangos are already late, so you're still not full in HP. You're trying to pressure this guy, but it's kind of dangerous because they have more creep waves than you. The only time you want to wrap around and like really force a fight is when they have less creeps than you, because then you know that your creeps are going to kill theirs first, and then your creeps might help you out in the actual fight. And this guy even got mana drain. That's something else that you can exploit. Oh, this dumbass got mana drain? Let's fight him. This is easy now. But again, you're still level 1. You're splitting experience with the Nyx Assassin. These guys are getting more experience. You still haven't done a pull yet. You could just do a single pull. Do a single pull. This creep wave dies. You hit level 2. Maybe you can fight now. Instead, you haven't done anything. You're standing over here accomplishing nothing at all. Don't stand around. You could actually just be standing behind the Nyx Assassin. You'd be doing more. Because you'd stand behind the Nyx Assassin. You could be right-clicking the troll whenever he tries to last hit. Or if the line's there as well, similar thing. But because you keep standing over here in the jungle, you're trying to, what are you trying to do? Wrap around, like disable line, kill line? Either pull, or stack into pull, or check the rune, or do anything. But thus far in this game, you haven't done anything. You actually have done nothing in this game. Except for a couple right clicks here and there. Like, you can maybe kill this guy. You might actually get him, but you should be able to based on his movement. Has been a little sloppy. Why does it look so jittery? Okay, you do end up killing this guy, but you were also a little inefficient about the way you did that. You didn't attack move enough. And what attack moving is that every time that you attack, every time after you attack, you move in between. Like right now, watch, you're going to stand still. In between those 2 attacks, you could have moved a little bit, like even an inch. Even moved from like here to where the observer ward is. You could have attacked, moved to here, and attacked again. And by doing that, you're basically canceling your animation. Every hero has an animation when they throw their spell. They throw their attack out, and as their attack releases, like when you're throwing a baseball, your arm keeps moving because of momentum, and so your arm swings down and you finish throwing. But that part in Dota, after you release the ball, you don't have to do that animation anymore. So to cancel that animation, what you can either do is right-click the ground to issue a movement command which interrupts whatever else you're doing, or you can press the S key to cancel the animation. Or you can issue another command like cast your skill, but as soon as it throws out, you cast your other skill, which will override the other animation. That animation stuff doesn't matter once your attack is thrown, and all heroes have slightly different animations. For example, Io has a super short one. You can barely right-click, and instantly the little ball of light will shoot out. But heroes like Drow Ranger have really bad animations in the early game. Who's another example of somebody with an awful... Clinks has a really bad animation in the early game. The animations get better when your agility goes up or your attack speed goes up, because then your hero doesn't have time for that animation, so it shortens it. But in the early game, attack movement is really important. So basically, you could attack him here, you could have moved to here, you could attack him again knowing that he doesn't have a stun because he's stunning, and mana drained you because he's stupid. So attack, move here. Attack again, move here. Attack again, move here. Then you eat this tree because he's probably trying to juke around it, and then you attack again and you move here. And you attack again and you move here. And then you use Fortune's End because he's about to get away, and you disable him for 0.5 seconds and you do 90 damage, and you attack him one more time and he dies. You could do all of that. Instead, you had to rely on this guy being terrible and the fact that he started to run, but he did it in a really stupid way. Look at this. He wasted like tons of time. He eats one tree here and then he starts running. If he just started running this way and then juked around this way and ran down or something, he could have lived. And the other reason you killed him was because you had vision. But all of these things lead to you having the ability to outplay him or not outplay him. And now it looks like you're going to die to the Purge. But who knows? Maybe your HP would have been more full if you had been using Tango since the start and you went to die right there. Maybe you could have killed him with the help of your creep wave. Never know. So you're probably thinking, oh damn, Pudge ganked. Maybe my stupid ally didn't call MIA. Well, the reality is you could have been level 3, maybe level 4 right now if you had laned properly, pulled properly, killed neutral camps, killed your opponents like 2 or 3 times already by 2 minutes. Then Pudge ganks you, you've got your Fate's Edict. As soon as he hooks you, you cast Fate's Edict on yourself, can't take any more magic damage, and you just right-click Pudge down until he dies. Because you had like 200 HP left or something, because you used your tangos properly. All of these things massively change the game. TP to lane. Generally, you don't want to TP to lane because this prevents your ability to TP to other lanes, but if you're being dual lane contested, it can be worth it. If you TP in a lane to start a pull that you would miss otherwise, that can sometimes be worth it as well. But you're basically playing the Dota game as if neutrals don't exist. And I get that because you're new, but you really need to abuse neutrals. This is an easy kill right here. It's the easiest kill I've ever seen. I probably would have channeled this much longer, personally. And the next issue is that, yeah, you guys are going to miss that kill. You absolutely should have gotten this, though. You would have had this kill if you channeled longer. You released way too fast. It's fine that you cast Purifying Flames. These right clicks are really good also. But as soon as this guy comes forward and he has this much HP, he's dead. He should be dead at least. Other mistake is that Nyx Assassin went 1-1-1 instead of getting 2 points in Impale, which he absolutely 100% should have had. If he has 2 points in Impale, it lasts for longer, it does way more damage. So, and you should be level 3 here also, so you would have 2 points in Purifying Flames. What you should have done instead is this, cast Purifying Flames, right-clicked him. Instead, you instantly casted Fortune's End, not worth it. You should channel this for 2.5 seconds. I don't care that he's going to heal a total of 20 HP during that. I want the disable, because the disable means that you get more free right-clicks. Nyx Assassin also should have spiked Carapace the Axe Spin, which would have reflected 75 magic damage. But at this point, you have way more HP than him. He also landed the stun, which is great. You're right-clicking, but it doesn't matter because he has evasion and all that stuff. And again, you stop moving. Look at the distance. Look how far away he got from you by the time he finally ran. He gets stunned. Alright, you're here. You tag once. You cast the spell. You got 2 auto attacks. Look at the distance between him and you right now. That's all from attacking twice and casting 1 spell. He got this much distance, 600 units. If you attack move though, and if you had been attack moving in anticipation of his movement, watch the way that he's likely to move. Okay, in this moment right here, do you think this guy feels safe? Do you think this guy actually thinks he's going to live? You should look at the game and say, you know what? Line just uses stun. It's probably on cooldown. I got a Nyx Assassin with mana. This guy's freaking dead. I can kill him. I can kill him. Now, you didn't channel your spell long enough, but again, most of the damage in the early game really is right clicks. So instantly of him going on you, I think this was fine that you backed off a little. It's a little scary. He got close to you. But as soon as he gets stunned by Nyx Assassin, this guy's dead. Very, very low. He does have an 8-stick, and I think he uses that. He does. But you're not attack moving enough. You should attack him, then move here. Oh, and also you started off with a nuke. You shouldn't do that, I don't think. Because you should save this until he's a bit lower. because he's got enough HP where he'll resist most of that damage and start slowly healing, which kind of became a problem. But usually when you want to do maximum damage early game, you attack, then cast your spell, then keep attacking until it's more damage. If you start casting your spell right away, then you can attack, but then after that attack you have a lot of downtime. So instead, you're attacking, and your downtime you're animating your spell, and then you're attacking again. It's like maximizing the amount of animations. You don't get to move though, it's the only downside. But yeah, you could minimum be standing like right here right now if you had attack move properly, which is already like 300 units. So this is basically why he lived. You've got a Nyx Assassin who doesn't have boots. You got a Troll that does have boots. You've got boots, but you didn't attack move at all, so he easily got away. Also, you didn't channel your Fortune's End, and you weren't level 3 because you didn't pull properly, and you weren't a part of any severe experience gains. So that's why you didn't get that Troll kill. He should have died though. You kind of sensed that he was in danger, but you didn't do the right movement-based things to get the most out of your early laning stage. Go watch a pro game. Every single time that you see somebody die, look at the way that the supports are moving. They attack and they move, and they attack and they move. And now your game is far harder than it needs to be. Like, how are you supposed to win this lane at this point? You're out of regen. You're kind of getting some advantage. Nyx Assassin doesn't have any regen. The first item he buys is a Null Talisman upgrade. I get that this guy is bad, but you can easily outplay this whole lane if you're a 5k player. And I get that you're not, but there's tons of things that you're not doing correctly, like attack moving. Just go into a neutral camp, basically, and practice, like, stand here, attack the neutral, then move a little bit, and then attack again, and then move a little bit, and attack again. And make sure that by the time you're attacking, by the time you stop to right-click again, that your attack isn't up. You can also just highlight your mouse over this. Let me see if it works in here. You can. 1.44 seconds per attack. So if your animation takes, like, 0.3 seconds, that means you should be moving for about like 0.6 seconds or so, something like that. Yeah, it's more than that. If your animation's like 0.4 seconds, you should be walking for like 1 second every time between your attacks. So you can just figure that out. Hold your mouse over your icon, your attack icon. Oh, you attack every 1.16 seconds. That's because Oracle has a really low BAT. It's just like a stat about his hero. So you can actually attack quite a lot as Oracle. You can attack more rapidly, do more damage than a lot of heroes. So basically, for a half second between attacks, you should be walking. Every single time. Which maximizes your damage, which maximizes your positioning, which means that if you do this better than your opponents, you could attack him 10 times every time he comes up to the creep wave. If he doesn't stun you or disable you. And every time you come up to his creep wave, he should be able to attack you like 3 times max. It's like completely night and day. And you keep your hero closer to theirs, which means you have better chances to prevent them from juking, to cast your spells when you need to. It changes everything. I don't even know if I want to watch this game anymore, honestly. This is like by far the #1 thing you need to fix. Very similar to the Tinker game. If you're a 1K player, I guarantee that the large majority of the mistakes you're making are the first 10 minutes. I'm gonna watch it for the sake of seeing if there's anything else to really focus on, but there's a very major difference. I've accidentally deleted something. Sorry. Okay. Got about an hour left, I think. Alright, I don't know that. Why'd you cast this spell there? You only have limited mana. Camera's in a really bad position. You don't see them approaching. You don't see how high the creeps are. You don't see what the anti-hero's HP is. Okay, so it looks like you're trying to cast Fortune's End on this guy. But why? What does this do? If you start channeling this on him, he knows you're casting on him. Nyx Assassin can't follow up on this because he's all the way over here, and he doesn't have that much mana, and he doesn't even have boots of speed yet. And you guys will be running into creeps, which means if Troll fights you, he's going to blind you, making you miss. And there's going to be 3 creeps hitting you. And there's going to maybe be another catapult to hit the tower. But you're not going to kill this guy before he kills you, especially if he goes into melee form and has like 10 armor. There's no way you kill him. What's the point of you using 110 mana here? It's absolutely okay, that's why. Because you're trying to do harass with Purifying Flames, but you missed. So that's actually really costly. But keep in mind, you just spent 170 mana to do that. And you lost your Clarity Potion because the line attacked you. So now all of this harass advantage that you're trying to get out of your lane, you just lost so much. This guy's almost full HP. He has all of his mana. You have almost no mana. You don't harass heroes with spells, guys. You harass heroes with right clicks, primarily. Right clicks are by far the best way to harass. At low levels, it seems like it's all about casting a spell. When I was a new player, I would do things like, oh, I'm going to play DP mid, I'm going to use Crypt Swarm to last hit and to harass. And that's good, but you can also get 2 right clicks in usually when you do that. Right click once, cast Crypt Swarm to last hit the creep and the hero, and then right click them once more. And then maybe the creeps aggroed you, but you walk away after that point, so you lose maybe 40 HP from 2 creep right clicks. But you get in 2 right clicks, you get a last hit, and you nuke your opponent. That's mana efficiency. The way you use mana right now, even if both of those spells hit on this guy, you did 180 magic damage and you did 90. That's 270 magic damage to this guy. It cost you a total of 170 mana. You're doing like more. You're doing like 1.5 times damage per mana, which is not good. This guy's got 760 HP, which means if you only harass him with magic damage, that it would take you like 1200 mana to kill him. But if you throw right clicks into that, if he comes up like that and you right click him once, you right click him twice, and then he starts walking away, he gets less last hits, he doesn't harass the tower as much, you did damage to him for free. Maybe he right clicks you back once, maybe he chooses to go on you, but then Nyx can stun and you're under tower and maybe you force a mistake. It's all about right clicks. You are not right clicking enough. Right clicks are a huge amount of damage. Like if you look at the early game, and there's like a battle thing, and you see how much damage you took, I guarantee that the largest majority of damage was either from creep right clicks, tower right clicks, or hero right clicks. By far more than spells. I don't know why this guy's all the way up here. You're also not playing your lane right. Again, look how you're playing this lane. You're basically, it's like you're playing League of Legends right now, honestly. You're just standing here and you're just pacing back and forth. Just waiting to cast spells. You know what you could be doing? You could have right-clicked this guy right there. So even if you do get stunned, what's the big deal? You right-clicked him back. What are you doing now? You're still running. Are you going to die here? Not really. This guy already used Whirling Axes. It's a long cooldown. You should know that. You just right-click him. He's already out of position. If this guy just stunned right now, Troll would just die. Like, look at that. Tower started hitting him. This guy could have stunned. You could have been channeling Fortune's End. As soon as the stun's about to end, you let Fortune's End release. And right before Fortune's End hits, you nuke him with Purifying Flames because you have just enough damage. This guy goes down to like 300 HP, and you just chase and right-click him. You literally could have killed him right there. You had to anticipate his movement. Oh, am I in danger? Nope, I'm not. This guy's out of position. Nyx stuns. You channel Fortune's End. This guy dies. If you guys are good players. You haven't right-clicked yet, though. Look at this. You could have right-clicked him right there. Could have last hit that. Nyx wasn't going to get that. What are you doing now? Denying this creep? Nope. You're literally just standing around. That's not playing support, man. You're just playing a hero that chooses not to farm. That's it. That's all you're doing in this game. You also bought sentries and a courier at the start of the game. But have you done anything else? You haven't. You've got 0 last hits. It's 6 minutes in. You're level 4. You're splitting this 2 ways with Nyx. That's the only reason you're even level 4. You're not level 4 because you got pulls. You're not level 4 because you got kills. You're level 4 because you stood around. You might feel like you're playing the game, but you're really not in any way. You're just standing there, and you're sometimes using your skills in inefficient ways. You're not doing any lane pressure, and it's really the important thing, guys. It's all about lane pressure. This is good. Use your spells fine there. But this is the problem. How long have you guys been standing in this lane? Let's go back and take a look at what Ogre's been doing. What time did Ogre TP to your lane? Standing around farming, standing around farming. Okay. From 5:30. When did you guys finally get a kill? It took you guys 1 minute and 20 seconds for you to finally kill somebody in this lane. 1 minute, 20 seconds. Now this is partially Ogre's fault based on the way that he approached this lane. But this is the problem with 1K MMR players. They basically just show up and they stand around and eventually somebody dies. But was this efficient in any way? It wasn't. Ogre Magi could have gone to the enemy jungle and like tried to harass somebody. He could have said like, oh, I saw Purge was really low. I'm going to try to meet him at top rune and kill him. And maybe kill him there. You have to like do something with your time. Ogre Magi just wasted a minute of his time. He basically, all he did was he came to the top lane and he split the experience 3 ways instead of 2 ways. There's still only 4 creeps here. There's still only so many resources. Him being here didn't even get you a kill for like 1 minute and 20. What he could have done instead if you really wanted to, TP to this lane, start a pull, connect the pull, and then when their heroes come up, then he wraps around from the side and kills them. Because they don't know where the creep wave went. They might think that somebody's pulling. They'll just be like, wow, weird, our creeps are gone. That's unusual. He starts the pull, he connects the pull, he gets this whole experience, he might get some of this experience, or he might kill a hero. And during that whole time, he TP's in, he walks over here and pulls. They don't know where he is. The ward's gone. It maybe was there when he TP'd in, for example. But if it's not, he does the full pull. They don't know he's there because he didn't TP in and stand next to the creep wave for 1 minute and 20 until somebody was stupid enough to come up and get killed. That's the only reason this guy died. It's because he's really, really making poor decisions with Dota 2. That's all. And finally, you standing around does something. Finally, you guys have enough nukes because you have 3 heroes standing here instead of just 2 to get a kill. But the reality is that you can kill solo, you can kill with 2 heroes, and obviously you can kill with 3 and 4 heroes. But what the Ogre did really poorly here was he showed up and stood around and let his opponents know that he was here. Because what should happen is his opponents should say, hey, there's an Ogre here, there's a Nyx here, and there's an Oracle. How does this set up? Okay, there's a couple ways. Nyx can stun, followed by Ogre stun, followed by Fortune's End Machine. Anybody's dead, because that's like 5 seconds of disable. Or Oracle could start channeling, land the disable, Nyx could stun, Ogre could die. So basically there's like lots of different ways that they could just get killed in this lane with a triple stun. But all he did was like he walked up and he got disabled and he didn't realize, he didn't understand like how much potential there was there. But you guys are not being efficient at all. You could have done a pull at any point here. You could have, if you had a Tangle left over, you can eat this tree, do a side pull at 53. This whole creep wave gets denied, and you might be able to farm a couple creeps, and then these guys get even less experience. Like laning is basically, when you're laning against somebody, it's all about the balance of experience gain and farm gain. There's ways to do it for every lane. If you're playing mid, like I talked about in the Tinker game, you're getting last hits, you're trying to harass them so that they have to leave the lane and go heal, while trying to maximize your farm, while trying to get runes, while trying to stack camps for you to farm later. As a support, the lane equilibrium is different. Your carry, in this case your Nyx Assassin, is sitting in his lane, he's last hitting as much as possible. If there's an offlaner, priority number 1 is zone the offlaner. If there's 2 heroes, it gets more complicated. Then you have to do things that try to maximize your lane equilibrium. Again, every 30 seconds, 4 creeps meet. One comes from the top, one comes from the bottom. They meet, they fight. They might get 4 last hits, you might get 4 last hits. They might get 2, you might get 2. They might get 4, you might get 0. Playing around that balance is what you have to do. If you do a pull, and you get these, you get 2 of these 3 last hits, which is pretty average. But more importantly, you get the experience from all 3 of these. And then you connect the pull, and then those 4 creeps die to the neutrals, and your opponents are just standing in the lane here. They get 0 experience for those 4 creeps, and then their creep wave pushes in, and your Nyx Assassin gets the experience and the last hits of 4 creeps. If he can last hit under tower, which I doubt for this guy. But so your Nyx gets like a full level. They are denied a full level of experience split 2 ways. And you get the experience of a small camp, minimum. All of that advantage just by doing a pull. If you do that 3 more times, then they've gotten half of the lane creeps that you have, because obviously the camps can only spawn so often. They've gotten half the lane creeps that you have. They should have half the experience. But you've also got neutral camps as well. So between you and the Nyx Assassin, your Nyx Assassin should be like level 4. And you should be like level 3 or something. And your 2 lane opponents should be like level 2 each. How do you mess it up at that point? If these guys are level 2, if he's got Earth Spike and Mana Drain at level 2, and this Troll Warlord went like Berserker's Rage with Whirling Axes, how do you lose that? You just kill them repeatedly, because you have way more damage from your skills, and you have more HP, and you have more damage because you leveled up more, and you have more items. You both have boots. They don't have boots yet because they've only gotten like 4 last hits. It just messes up the whole game. So early game Dota is all about being more efficient than your opponent. Mess up the lane equilibrium by pulling. Go into a private lobby just like your Tinker game and start a game and practice pulling. See how fast you can get level 6. See if you can do it without missing a pull ever. See if you can never miss connecting a pull. Connecting a pull is tough, but you got to learn how to do it. If you don't, you have to do stack pulls, and that's just way less efficient because it takes like 2 pulls to even clear a 2 stack of small camps. If you pull through, you can clear a small camp, and if you do it well, you can also clear a large camp while denying your creeps. So every minute you should be able to get a small camp's worth of experience and a large camp's worth of experience as a support while denying experience from the offlane heroes. Like it changes the early game so much. These guys could be level 2 right now. You could be like level 4, and your Nyx Assassin could be like level 6 at 6 minutes. And then maybe Nyx Assassin goes and starts moving around the map ganking while you just AFK farm this lane. And then if they come up, you try to kill them because they're low level. Or maybe you TP somewhere else and participate in a kill because you have all this level advantage. Like there's so many things you can do, but the game doesn't even open up or start opening up until you wreck your opponents in lane. Laning is so important. That's why we gripe in pro games about the difference of 5 last hits or 10 last hits or 10 or 15 last hits in the early game, because it accelerates you from a position into another position, which accelerates you in another position. And I guarantee that every 1K MMR player is as efficient as you are in the early game, and it's all because of how little you're participating in the game. You're not touching the jungle, and you're never using your right click when that's by far the cheapest, most efficient damage. You don't need clarity potions for it. You just need the ability to harass them in a situation where they can't out harass you, which is exactly what you didn't abuse in the laning stage against Lion because you had less regen. So that's the early game. And I haven't even gotten into to the 10-minute mark yet. Now you're auto attacking, you're splitting experience 3 ways. This is okay. Looks like you're gonna get a double kill, which is great, but I don't know. Kind of lucked into that one. That was because they made a mistake, not necessarily because of your guys' good play. So spending some mana to regen this guy, which is maybe questionable. Again, creeps 9. Where are you standing? You're standing by a tower. Why are you standing over here? What is this? Are you scared? Think there's going to be like 8 million heroes? These are terrible players, guys. Pudge died. He's not here right now. These creeps are dying and nobody's getting experience. At the very least, what you do is you come over here and stand next to the trees, or you stand over here. The vision is only so much. If I resume and we go to Radiant Vision, look at this. If you stood here, or in these trees, over here, you're going to experience this whole time. Like, actually the whole time. And instead you're standing by your tower. You could add level 6 here, maybe. All of these, like, you just keep being inefficient. Think about the experiences, think about the resources. And now, you don't necessarily want to get into this phase where you overfarm, where you say, oh my god, there's creeps here, I need to farm those over participating in a team fight. Most of the time, that's not the better thing to do. This is good. I'm glad you channeled this a long time. But I wish you had more mana. You should have more mana, but you don't. Because you wasted a lot earlier. You spent like, I don't know, 120 just to heal the ogre. I don't think that was necessarily worth it. That was a while ago, though. But little things like that add up. What if you were more farmed? You could have an urn right now, which gives you mana regen, which meant you would have had more mana to chase that guy. All that stuff matters. As soon as you get the gold, buy the items kind of stuff. So you've got a lot of kills, and you're probably thinking, wow, I'm having a really good game. But it's not because you're playing Dota, right? It's because you just happen to... There happen to be circumstances where you used your skills in a good way. You did that well. You used your skills at the right time in those moments. But there's a lot of other times you used your skills wrong, which meant that you could probably honestly have like 6 or 7 kills right now, minimum. You could have like a Hannah Midas at like 8 minutes if you really wanted to. You could basically do whatever you want. And that's kind of why really good players, it doesn't really matter what they do in a game against really bad players. Because the reality is that what you can accomplish is so much stronger than what they can accomplish. So you just get massive advantage from it. Again, you could have backed off here and started a pull instead of hitting the tower. It's cool you hit the tower. But look, now the creep waves are up here. They're going to get experience for these 4 creeps. Instead, you could have pulled, gotten experience for these 2 camps. Way more advantage there. Should be able to kill this guy. Should have been moving up. Okay, you did kill him, but it was a little sloppy. Pudge hooks you, you just cast your second skill, or that. That should be your death, though. You need to heal. They use that, and then heal. You're dead for sure, though, I think. Oh, maybe not. Looks bad, though. If you did that a little bit faster, you would have been okay, I think. It was a decent try. You could also have a magic stick. If you had a magic stick, you probably could have lived there. If you turned and right-clicked him, maybe you win, but the lion probably would have stunned you. That's kind of a hard situation. Here's your urn. You could have had that earlier. You could have a magic wand and an urn before that fight even started. You would have had enough HP to actually just turn and right-click Pudge. Then you kill Pudge, and you'd be 5-1, and that was the enemy mid here that you solo kill. Now you're rotating good. This is cool. I like that you TP down here and fought this, and the important thing is also that you went through the trees instead. Rather than TPing the lane and just walking straight at him, what you did is went to the jungle. So by doing this, they don't necessarily know you're there. The only way they know is if they have a lane ward and they see you TP in, or if they have a ward over here seeing your approach. So all of a sudden the lane, which looks only like an ogre here, you just get one simple disable, and you get to easily follow up and kill the hero. That was well done. I like that you did that. Now you just need to earn the Sven, and we are all good. Or you could just use that skill. Whatever, I guess that works. Now, I have a feeling you're going to do this. You're going to walk across the map and go do something different. I don't like this at all. You're probably thinking, oh, my mid tower is dying. Well, what you should do actually is just stay down here. You already TP'd to the bot lane and you killed PA. Why not try to pressure the tower? Or what you can do is group with your Ogre Magi and heal them up using an urn and just travel across the map and look for enemy heroes. Try to swing around behind the troll this way, for example. Get somebody else on your team to TP mid rather than you. I think might be better. Instead, you walk all the way across the map after TPing to the bot lane, which isn't very efficient. I think you can easily kill this guy. If you use the urn, actually, this guy's dead right now. But you didn't use the urn. You're still going to kill him, I think? Oh, he definitely should have been dead. Yeah, if you use your urn while you did that, he dies. It's one of the good things about urn, it's the damage potential. But you probably forgot. So, let's see how you did this exactly. Alright, first problem. I would have, if you think he's for sure committing to the tower, and it looks like that because he still has creeps, I would have swung around this way instead. That way you get more of an edge. Because by the time he sees you, you're going to be standing here. If he starts seeing you here, you have this huge distance of movement difference for you to chase him, and then you definitely would have gotten the kill. So if all you would have changed about how you ganked him there was wrapped around a little bit more south and approached here, then his radius of vision would have encountered you here instead of here. And that's because it's nighttime. It just turned nighttime, you could have swung around. So as soon as you start the gank, cast urn. Start the urn right away because it takes 8 seconds to do the 150 pure damage. Cast Purifying Flames, cast Fortune's End, channel it as long as you want, and then get the follow-up Purifying Flames once it's done. I would channel it for like, cast Purifying Flames, I would channel it for like 2 seconds, throw it, and then instantly cast Purifying Flames again, and he should be dead at that point. See how you did. So basically, instantly from darkness, you casted that. You also could have walked forward, attacked him once, then Purifying, then Fortune's End. But in reality, Earn, Purifying, Fortune's End is the best thing. He basically ran right away because of this. You attacked him once. Again, you didn't attack move here, which messed you up. And now you're already at full range because you're not attack moving. It's kind of the same for actually all your spells. The only one that you have an excuse for is Fortune's End, which has a channel, so it automatically stops you. Boom. He's really low. Use Earn. Instead of attacking as well, you could have just casted Purifying Flames right here, and he would have gone extremely low. The scary part is that he might not have died. But you stop moving, now you're looking to cast. Because the tower hit him twice, he actually gets quite low. Oh, why did you attack there? That was also a kill. You messed up like 4 times, actually. Easily could have killed him. This is a level 4 nuke. Level 4 nukes, on average, do 300 damage, which means it's reduced to 225. So if his HP is below, let's go back and look at his HP bar. See these little black lines? Everyone is 250 HP. If there's a really thick black line, that's 1,000 HP. So as soon as he went below that 1 bar, your nuke's definitely going to kill him. Plus, it's a stronger than average nuke. It does 360, so let's do the math. We'll multiply 360 by 0.75, which means 75% of the damage. You do 270. So as soon as he's below 270 HP, your Purifying Flames kills him. You easily kill this guy. You don't even have to use Earn, actually. Just right here. See his HP? Okay. As soon as this tower hits and your attack hits, he dies. If you just cast a Purifying on him right now, dead. 265. Dead hero. Just nuke him. Just nuke him. And if this happens, where you get fogged, another thing you could have done to approach, put an Observer Ward down to give vision. That way, as he walks high ground, you can still see him. So you messed up like 15 things there. Easy kill for you. And instead, you walked all the way mid, whatever, that's fine. But you should have gotten that kill easily. You should be like level 10 right now, minimum, just from hero kills. Your ward placement is good, I like that. But what I would like, actually, yeah, just move with your team, I think. Ganking is good. On Oracle, you can be very aggressive. You need to ulti your Huskar. Alright, you're really late on that. Goal is basically covering your man. Sable here is good. As soon as he's hexed, you needed to ult ASAP. I see that you're a little bit late. You were a little slow in movement. It wasn't terrible, but it was pretty slow. You should use Fate's Edict before you went for that. You're dead 100%, but maybe if you Fate's Edict first, you could have lived. Well, those are all TPs. This guy's being kind of silly. But yeah, I think you should have been able to kill him. That's wards, obviously. If you had a smoke on your hero, for example, and you did that smoke gank again, or if you did that but a smoke gank, you would have killed PA and nobody would have reacted in time. That's another thing. Got to play around vision. You're running to obvious places. Like, whenever you're going from lane to lane, you're going from a lane and you're just walking through the river to get places. And you're like, mid, oh, I want to go top. Well, let's walk through the river. You know what would have been better is if you crossed the river, you snuck up here, you walk through this area, then you pop out this way, tank tower a couple times, and then kill PA. Chances of them having a ward there is less because they would have had to have a ward either here, or here, or here. Any of those 3 wards would have spotted it. Or if they had a ward in the mid lane, they might have realized as well. But those wards are a lot less common. So you got to think about the way you walk and how that affects ganks. Like, the only reason there were 3 heroes there is because they saw you walk through vision and your stupid Huskar. Huh? 3 people? What? What's going on? Why were there 3 people? It's because they saw you guys coming. And as soon as they saw you here, they reacted to it. Pretty simple. If you walk through the trees on your gank to the top, less chance that they see you coming, and then you have more element of surprise. And element of surprise is really that same thing that I've talked about with Orc or with Ogre when he TP'd your lane. He TP's your lane, he stands around, and eventually your opponents die. The element of surprise is gone. If you watch pro teams, what they do is they try to limit as many elements of tells that they can. For example, if I'm laning against a guy in a 1v1 situation, and all of a sudden he runs at me, I know, oh, he's playing aggressive. He's trying to do damage to me or to land a stun, which means that there's a good chance that somebody's wrapping around at the same time. If they execute it perfectly, as soon as he runs, it's too late already. And the other guy swings from the other way, he lands his first disable, and then the lane guy will land his follow-up disable. That's what makes top level players more difficult. They're better able to hide their movements. Either they use smokes, or they walk ways on the map that are kind of confusing or not really expected, because it gives them a higher chance to gank. So staying off the map is really important. It's another reason why pulling is so important, because if they don't have a ward there, they never really know where you are. They just know that the creep wave is disappearing. You could start a pull, TP the mid lane, and then do the gank if you do it the right way, which, again, the way you gank properly is usually wrap all the way around and approach from the back rather than running straight at them. So all of those things really add up, and the way that you guys approached that gank was really poor. Very important to fix that. Although, by all means, the most important thing and the reason that I started with it is the laning. the speed at which you collect resources and the amount of resources that you deny your opponents from having is extremely important. Let's see how you play this fight. You should have probably casted Fortune's End first for the fact that they were likely going to run. Let me see again how you did this. So respawning. I mean, the range on Fortune's End is really good right now, but you genuinely should have... At most, what I would have done is I would have finished my TP, I would have casted Earn on him, and started casting Fortune's End. Or if you're really a little greedy, you could walk forward a little bit, earn Purifying Flames, and instantly Fortune's End. Keep in mind, again, there's an animation after you cast this. You cast the animation, and your arm finishes moving. Cast it, and instantly start casting Fortune's End. If you do that, you can do it. You can do all 3 spells, including your Earn. Earn is instant, instantly Purifying Flames, instantly after you cast it, right-click the ground next to him and cast Fortune's End. And then you would be able to get all 3 spells off. This guy's dead. Instead, he gets away. This is all abusing animations. Like right there was kind of like attack moving. The way that you did that. You still don't have a magic stick or a TP. You should have both. Magic stick's like 2 value for the regen it gives you. And if you end up false promising yourself, then you can get a double wand charge in terms of heal, which is really valuable. You also should have put a ward down in the lane, that way you could see them approaching. Right now you're basically in darkness. If you put a lane down, you would see whether or not they actually even came to lane, and then whether or not it was okay for your team to fight. This looks like a really easy fight for you guys. Alright, good timing on that. You still haven't used an Urnog aggressively. Does that actually work? I guess it does. Good. I would move my camera a little bit more. You've been a little static. I like that you charged this. That was really good. And then I would nuke him. What is your team doing? Oh, that was really close. Still haven't used an Urn aggressively. You should do that more often. Again, 150 pure damage is huge. This is equivalent to a 200 damage nuke just for 1 item. Obviously, they have to get the gank off in the first place, but your ultimate on Sven was really good there. I like that one. That was perfectly timed, but you're not quite moving around enough. And why are you TPing here? Another mistake. They know you're here now. You TP'd in front of creeps. They know that you're in the lane. It doesn't matter that you don't have low mana. It doesn't matter that Nyx got out. If you're rotating lanes like this, and they don't and you don't want them to know that you're coming, you'll TP to the tier 2. In this case, it's all right because you're just gonna get experience. But look at this. Now, wow, Ogre's coming. Oracle's here. Do you think they're gonna stay anymore? How are you gonna get a kill? What they should do upon seeing this is say, okay, there's 2 heroes there. Do we have the ability to fight that? If they do, they'll try to engage. If they don't, they should get out. That's simple. And as soon as there's 2 heroes here, look at this. They're just going to stand around. They're going to be like, well, I guess we can try to hook one. If they hook one, it's okay. If they don't, look, they just wasted time. Nyx could have been farming a neutral camp. They could have TP'd to any other lane. They could have TP'd mid and pushed that. They could have done a million other things. It goes for both of you guys. You guys both played this week. Don't TP into a tower, that obviously. TP to tier 2, sneak around, stand here, or sneak up and stand here. That way, if they do approach, maybe you can channel Fortune's End when the line is standing here auto-attacking a tower, because he's bad. Stand here, start channeling, Ogre TPs in aggressively. Fortune's End lands, Ogre gets his stun off, you kill him, boom, hero dies. But because you TP in front of creeps, they know you're there, they're not going to walk up to the tower. All the positioning and the information changes. So the way that you just position your hero is massive. It's all about information, if you haven't gotten that yet. All about information. Approach the lane. Don't let them know that you're coming. Put wards down in the meantime, for example. Try to look ahead, expect what's going to happen, and then play accordingly. I feel like we should jump to a different game. We have about 40 minutes left, so I'm going to jump to a different replay. Let's do the Crystal Maiden one, because that's your order. So we can aim for CM and Dazzle. CM, I anticipate flaming you for very similar things as this, and that your early game is going to be very weak. It's all about getting your fast level 2 when you're playing CM.